This video is brought to you by Sporlan, quality, integrity, and tradition.
Well, today we've got a Glycol unit. This is a power pack. This one takes has a refrigeration condensed unit down here. It's a micro chiller, like a mini chiller, and it takes chilled glycol that's in this vat right in here, underneath here. It's all full of glycol, and it pumps it through the beer lines to chill the beer lines from the beer walk into the taps. And while we were doing a filter change yesterday, we noticed that this pump was intermittently locking up. So you can clearly hear it has like some sort of bad bearings or something. So we're gonna shut this guy down, and I brought a pump and a motor with me. We're gonna get them swapped out and then proceed further. So this one has two pumps. This one has two pumps. I shut this one off. This one's running, whisper quiet, and it's doing what it's supposed to be doing. So this guy does have a quick release if I can figure out how to get it off. I don't know, I gotta get my hands in there, but it should come out, and then we'll be able to pull the pump out and swap it out. It'll be fun. Very rarely is it easy to get to the bottom side of the Glycol pump and motor and actually just unbolt it. So this makes the change out so much easier, because normally you're fighting it in there, or you pull the belly band straps and then you're fighting the belly band straps. So this is kind of cool. I'm gonna be able to do this all with the pump wherever I want it. So when it comes time to breaking the motor and the pump free, I'll end up putting a bucket right here and doing it over a bucket so the glycol can drain into a bucket, and then I'll pour the excess glycol back into the unit when I'm done. But understanding what's coming with these things is really important, because there's going to be glycol leaking out when I pull the lines and stuff. So, and always make sure you got plenty of insulation tape too. So we've got it unplugged, we've got it, we can set it over. I'm going to separate the pump and the motor, which is right in here. We'll pull this insulation back, and then we'll get the motor changed and then the pump changed. All right, this is the inside of the motor. You can see that the coupler is completely disintegrated. Now this did have a pump saver coupling. So if you ever see this nylon grommet right here, it's a pump saver. The theory is that it's supposed to break this before it damages the motor and the pump, basically. But you can clearly see that's not the case here. Like, this has been rattling around on that. It's supposed to be a super tight connection. Yeah, the whole pump saver is going away, so we're not going to use that. All right, got all the insulation stripped off to where you can see the lines. So it's just a matter of unthreading these, which can be a chore. Sometimes you can get them to spin. I don't know if I'll get it to spin or not. Depends on how tight these bands are. So undo those into a bucket, like I said, and then see if we can get them to break free. I'm not worried about taking the rest of this coupler off because we're not going to use it. We'll just use the new pump. Comes with a new band, and then you've got the pump. And we'll make sure we pull these guys out. I've made that mistake before leaving those in. So we got them both out. Yeah, so time to get a bucket. All right, so you get the right wrenches. If you're lucky, this thing fits like it's supposed to, right? Actually, that's too big. I have a 11/32 right here, something. Anyways, but if you're lucky, this one is actually spinning. So the fittings will spin, because you don't want it to bind up and twist the line up. So as I'm rotating this, it's actually spinning in the fitting. I have to hold it with two hands, and yeah, we're just about to pull it out, and then we're going to transfer it over, Teflon it up, and then screw the other one on. So it's just, be cautious though. You don't want to twist this up and break a line or something like that. Cautious about the stuff in the bottom of the bucket. I tried to keep it clean, but a little bit came out, so this isn't too bad. So the worst one will likely be the other line, but I need to Teflon this up and then get it threaded on the other side. And just one step at a time, just baby steps through this. This way I don't have to cut the lines, because I do have the tool to cut it and crimp them, but I'd rather not if I've got a non-leaking fitting. But I spun this one on and then realized that this one won't spin with the fittings here. And what I'm talking about is the barbed fitting that's inside. This one, I'm able to grab the top, and the barbed fitting that goes between these two lines is able to spin. So I'm able to tighten this one in. So I had to end up undoing this one, because this one right here wouldn't spin. So I had to spin the pump on this one nice and good, and then now put that. So sometimes you got to use ingenuity here and think logically, make it easier, not harder. You know what I mean, Bern? All right, I got it all wired in, set up, plugged in. We need to turn the power on, and then we need to verify it's not overamping and let it run for a minute and make sure we don't have any leaks. So pump 1, 5.95. We're allowed to run 6.1 amps. 6.1, so we're not overamping. Pump 2 is running. See how this is spinning though, because we need to really lock it down. I don't have it locked down yet. This guy right here was spinning, so. But we're looking good as far as that goes. So I'm gonna turn off the pumps real quick. Let it sit for a second. I'm gonna tighten this up, then we'll let it run for a little bit longer, then I'll insulate this up, and then we'll start up the condensing unit. My unit's bolted back down. It's been running for a few minutes. There's a little bit of condensation, but that's typical because the lines are cold. But there's no leaking coming out the threads or anything, no glycol leaking out. So we're gonna go ahead and insulate this guy up, then turn the condensing, actually turn this on right now, turn the condensing unit on. There we go, so we're running. So I'm gonna go ahead and insulate it up now. And we are up and running. Insulate each line individually, then I just wrap it all together, but I do each one individually first. And then, yeah, it's pretty good. All good on this one. We're gonna let it come down to temperature and then start cleaning up my messes. All right, this guy is on. It's satisfied multiple times while I've been up here. Let's open up the glycol reservoir. Glycol level's a little bit low. Should be a little bit higher. So I'm gonna see if they have some glycol up here. They might have some. And I'll add a little bit of glycol to that. But other than that, this guy's good. We're gonna wrap this one up.
I've been getting a lot of these glycol units. This was another one. I had a service tech out at this location, and he was doing a filter change on the rooftop, but we always walk the restaurant, you know, when we're there. So we just walked through the restaurant, walked by the walk-in coolers. He happened to walk by one of the glycol units, and he could hear something was off. So he popped his head up there, brought it to the manager's attention, found a bad pump. Now, when he was there, the pump was locking up, but then he'd come back a few minutes later, and it started running, and then it locked up, and then it started running. And when I got there, he talked to the manager created the work order, and I went out to go do it because they didn't do it that day. They did it like 2 days later. And I went out there to go change the pump, and the manager says, yeah, it like turns on, it turns off. They described what he described. And you guys didn't get to see it locked up, neither did I, but we got to hear the loud bearing noise in it. So clearly it was just overheating. The bearings were probably dry or something in it. But, you know, changing these pumps, you just got to use common sense, right? And when I say pump, it's a pump and a motor, but we just call it a pump, okay? I know some people out there are probably screaming at me because it's not a pump, it's a motor that was bad and the pump was fine and da-da-da. You change them as a set, okay? I get it. Everybody has an opinion, you know, just like assholes, but, you know, anyways. But, you know, I go off on a tangent like that. But, you know, just use common sense approach to it. And you work your way through the problem, try to be logical about it. The pump saver couplings, those are cool concept, but I don't stock those, nor do I change enough pumps to stock those in my truck. I realize everybody's like, they're lifesavers. No, they're not, because the pump saver did nothing to save this pump. In some situations, sure, but it didn't, right? The pump starts to lock, and this is my general opinion. Never been told this, never been to a glycol training class or anything like that, but just general common sense. When the glycol isn't cleaned on a regular basis, when it's ran at higher concentrate or lower concentration levels, thicker glycol, in my opinion, it starts to make the pump difficult to turn, right? The pump is a little bit harder to spin. There's a little bit more oomph that the motor needs to do, especially when the glycol starts getting dirty. These pumps get gummed up. And the whole idea of the pump saver coupling is that it goes between there. It's a nylon piece that goes between the pump saver and the motor and the pump, basically. And the idea is that the nylon's going to break before the pump gets worn out or the motor gets worn out. But in this situation, it didn't. It was still running. It still wore out the motor. Even the little nylon piece wore out. It's bizarre, you know? So I really don't see the logic in using the pump saver couplings. I've never seen a very big benefit, but I'd like to know from you. Do you guys see a really big benefit from these pump saver couplings that go between? I just find myself taking them out all the time, and I don't, you know, in this situation, the motor was still damaged. It still had massive wear. The pump was clearly the problem that caused the motor to go bad. I don't really see the logic in using the pump saver couplings, but maybe I'm wrong. Send me information, hvacrvideos@gmail.com. If you got, you know, documents or anything, I'm always looking to learn. I'd love to go to a Glycol training class to learn a little bit more about them. I genuinely have never been to one. I just have, like I said, just the basic mechanical common sense. Just kind of look at them and you're like, okay, this is what's happening. You can kind of figure it out. A lot of that stuff is a lot of my career, and I would certainly like to get better training on a lot of stuff, but I don't have very much formal training with what I do. It's just been a lot of common sense logic, just working my way through stuff. I did go to HVAC school, my local community college. You learn the basic electrical stuff, but even that, I didn't retain a lot of it. It just kind of sat there in my brain. I guess I did retain it, but I didn't understand it. But it just sat there in my brain until I got to a point in my career where I just kind of like connected dots. And then I was like, oh, I remember what my teacher said in school, and I remember what my dad said when he was teaching me this, and our senior mechanic. And then all of a sudden, the three of them, it's like, boom, it made sense, So bear with it when you do go to these trade schools or education classes or, training seminars. Just because, you don't completely understand a subject, still listen, still absorb, and sometimes later in life, it'll click, and all makes sense. But regardless, going off on a tangent as usual, I've been getting a lot of these Glycol calls lately. I don't know why it is, but I tend to notice trends where all of a sudden you'll get a bunch of ice machine calls, then you'll get a bunch of Glycol calls, a bunch of exhaust calls. It's kind of random. But I'm just thankful that my customers choose to use me to fix this stuff time and time again. And that's the big thing. I'm not in business to make a quick buck and rip anybody off with my customers, because I want to continue to work for these customers for years and years and years to come. Stuff's naturally going to break. There's no reason to be shady. There's no reason to be deceptive with your customers and to try to rip them off or anything like that. Because if you're an honest, hardworking service company that has decent prices, I mean, there is a lot of variables to this, but bottom line, if you're honest, you're trustworthy, and you have decent pricing and you know what you're doing, the hope is that the customers are going to continue to call you. And I'm very thankful that my customers continue to call me. But, life happens. I don't talk about this very much, but, in the last 3 years, I've lost 3 or 4 customers for various reasons. So, I'm not like this golden boy that always gets everything, that they want. Like I still have a couple really good core customers, but I'm always looking for new ones. I'd really like to pick up some non-refrigeration restaurant work. I'd like to do some like industrial air conditioning work and stuff like that. But see, the problem is I don't work on chillers and big high tonnage stuff. Nor do my staff have those skills, but I really would like to start picking up some warehouses or industrial stuff, because I just like to diversify a little bit. But anyways, going off on a tangent as usual, I really do appreciate you guys making it to the end of the video. Thank you so very much. If you haven't already, please consider going to my website, hvacrvideos.com, where we have merchandise available. If you want to support the channel, a couple different ways to do so. The easiest way is just watch the videos from beginning to end. That really is the easiest way. You can also go to PayPal, Patreon, or YouTube channel memberships, bunch of different ways. There's links in the show notes for each one of those. You can go to TrueTechTools.com if you're looking to purchase any tools. I have an affiliate program set up with them. If you use my affiliate code BIGPICTURE, one word, at checkout at TrueTech Tools, on majority of the items, you'll get a discount at checkout. I get a small commission from that. Great way to help support the channel. Again, thank you so very much, and hopefully we'll catch you on the next one.